Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. Sponsored by Leap Brands. From executive recruiting to hourly staff, Leap is your one-stop shop for all of your franchise talent. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. And today, imagine doing 10 million in revenue with a flooring franchise. And remember, it's those boring, unsexy businesses that all of you are talking about today. It's not about that passion play. You have to go play with kids in a daycare or whatever, or something like that. So let's talk home service brands. I have Tom Wood, the president and CEO of Floor Coverings International. Welcome, Tom.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning to you. I'm happy and excited. So for the audience, full disclosure, I did not know Tom until today. And when my wife was looking to redo the stairs in our house in Las Vegas, she talked to a lot of knucklehead flooring companies, some that were actually pretty okay, she thought, and then stumbled upon Floor Coverings International. And then I said, that's funny, honey. That's one of our franchises that we represent. And man, they do really well, those franchisees. And she said, well, I like these people and they're redoing our stairs. And Tom, they did a fantastic job modernizing our stairs, giving suggestions on how the front of the stairs could be to modernize it as opposed to the old blocky, awful look with the carpet on it, the way they had it. So anyway, welcome to the show, Tom. Thank you so much for being here.
Really looking forward to it, and I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, Lance.
My pleasure. How'd you get into franchising?
Wow, that question in and of itself, you asked a big one, probably without even knowing it. So I'm going to take a long story and condense it down.
Perfect.
1985, almost exactly 39 years ago this month, I was a college student up in Boston. At that point, a lot of us had to pay our way through college and such, and I needed to get a summer job that would pay me the most possible money that I possibly could. It didn't matter what I was going to do at that point. I was a sophomore in college. I wasn't thinking yet about, career or internship or things like that. I just needed to sock away as much money as I could so that I could go back to school and have a little bit of spending money and all of the above. The job that I found was house painting. And I answered an ad where essentially at that point, I could make a good hourly wage, but then also have an opportunity to make more based on incentives, meaning being more productive and such. And I grabbed that job, and that ended up being with a small franchise organization at that point, a company called College Pro Painters. And the house painting was good. The money that I made was great, but I'll tell you what I went back to school with that fall was that there was real opportunity in home improvement businesses. I was absolutely stunned in the suburbs of Boston in the mid 80s. And just to put a little bit of perspective on the time frame, in the 80s, home improvement businesses were almost entirely run by tradespeople. Like at this point, there had not been any professionalization in any of the trades, whether it was house painting, landscaping, roofing, you name it. So here I was, a university student painting houses, making a lot of money. Seeing all the competition was, well, you can imagine what we're looking at. Guys in beat up pickup trucks. At that point, there was a lot of station wagons out there, but the level of professionalization was so low.
Station wagon. That's a word from the past.
Not only is it a word from the past, that was reality back then. Ladders
Yes.
on the top of old beat up station wagons.
Yes.
So I went back to school at the start of my junior year with a whole new perspective of both franchising, even though I was in the labor side of that business, and home improvements. So from that point forward, I got involved and got my own franchise my junior year of college. And really at this point, I started forgetting about what I was actually majoring in. Had a franchise for 2 years. Essentially it was a franchise that at that point was just for college students, made a lot of money, learned leadership. But I'll tell you what I figured out at that point was I didn't care what my friends or my family or my future in-laws said about home improvements from the perspective they had. I saw a real business opportunity that's where I got started. I'll just
Yeah.
fast forward real quickly.
Yeah.
Several years later, I had the opportunity to found CertaPro Painters with a longtime partner and mentor of mine, Charlie Chase, at our parent company. Then got involved with, we
I
started.
had no idea about this story. You
Well,
found
wait
it
till I
so
name drop the next one. So I was one of the founders of CertaPro Painters, and then our parent company, and I was involved. We acquired California Closets and Paul Davis Restoration, pillar to post home inspection, and then in 2004, we said we need to be in flooring, and we acquired Floor Coverings International.
I absolutely love this story. And for those listening, I hope they really appreciate it because while you were in my portfolio, Floor Coverings International, and I represent quite a few brands, and I love the idea of Floor Coverings International for my prospective clientele, I got pitched on Tom Wood and this amazing brand, Floor Coverings International. And
Mhm.
this is what I love about doing the podcast. I didn't have your deep resume, and to my surprise, look at what's unfolded here. So,
That's very
uh,
flattering. Thank you. I appreciate those kind words.
it is incredible that you have not done it once or twice. You've done it multiple times. And I tell people all the time, or people ask me, Tom, Lance, why are you presenting? Because I'm a franchise consultant. Why are you presenting this brand to me? Why do you think it fits? And the first thing that I tell people all the time when I present a brand is I believe in the leadership of the company, that they're
Mm,
going to support you and guide you well, and they have a model that's going to work for you. The question is, are you going to work within that model? So,
absolutely.
but nevertheless, holy cow, now I know why. I mean, I knew the leadership, but I didn't know you. So, congrats on all that.
Thank you.
So, having said that, tell everybody exactly what Floor Coverings International is all about.
Sure. Let me start with the story you shared right in the beginning about how you stumbled across Floor Coverings International because your wife said we need to upgrade part of the flooring in the home. So for me, I'll just tell you right off the bat, you were telling me how great the experience was. I was expecting you to say that, and I would have been stunned if you said anything differently. But the perspective that I have when I say that is the flooring industry is massive. It's $100 billion a year when we look at all facets of the flooring industry. Floor Coverings International, we're over 200 million this year. But what that absolutely means is we've got about 1% market share. Like we're tiny. We grow every year, double digits. Our franchisees perform really well, but still, it's such an enormous industry with major fragmentation. And here we are an over $200 million company with small market share. But, and this comes back to your story, we are the highest rated flooring company in all of North America. In this massive $100 billion industry, where even our size of over 200 million, we have an NPS score of 87 across all of our franchisees, all of North America. That equates to our social media score, 4.8 stars with tens of thousands of rating. I would have been really surprised if you said anything other than you had a great experience because our franchisees really do deliver a differentiated experience that our customers absolutely love. And that makes me really, really proud of the people in
Yeah.
our business.
Yeah, and my wife is definitely a little bit picky, as she should be.
As she,
And by the way, NPS, Net Promoter Score for those playing along at home.
right,
So
exactly. If you were to look that up, you would see that is the gold standard of evaluating a company's performance and brand loyalty.
wonderful. So let's talk about the investment. What is the typical investment?
Our franchisees are typically making an investment of between $200 and $250,000 all in into the business. Of course, a little asterisk, some people invest less, some people invest more, but that core number that we're looking for here is in that $200 to $250,000 range.
And are most people or some people getting small business administration or SBA loans?
I would say a vast majority of our franchisees coming in are using other people's money to start their business.
Got it. Now, Tom, if I was going to ask you to think about the top 10% of franchise owners, the best, Best
Yep.
of the best, top 10%. What are their backgrounds and why are they so successful at Floor Coverings International?
Oh gosh, what an awesome, insightful question. If you don't mind, I'm going to change the question just a little bit, and I'm going to
You
call it our
can.
top 25%. And
Perfect.
the reason I'm going to do that is because that is really how we look at it internally. And anybody listening to this that then starts engaging with us, you're going to hear us talk about that differentiation of the top 25%. It's not just the top 10. There's a couple of key things. Typically, they are able to separate between important and unimportant things in the business that actually move the needle and make a difference. They don't, as a general rule, get caught up in little things that certainly are helpful, but they're not impactful. But if I were to take this and drill it right down to that number one core differentiator of that top 25% here, they know and understand their business grows by adding people. They have to
Right.
have leadership. The way that the business grows and scales is not by following the industry, because remember what I mentioned before, we have 1% market share. We don't have, to the best of my knowledge, a single franchisee that has hit 3% market share, and that includes our largest franchisee. So the way that we can grow is our franchise owners add people, specifically design associate salespeople, and then make sure that they're marketing and advertising to support their people, not the other way around. Now, the next 50% of our franchisees, the middle of our franchisees, the typical restrainer is they have that reversed. They wait until they feel that the market is demanding that they can grow, and then they add their people. Our top 25% looks at this and says, I can always grow by market share grab. So I have to scale my business and add people, and then I add the resources to support.
Yes. Got it. So I get it. Invest in your business and it grows.
Absolutely. It's a simple formula that, of course, is complicated and difficult to execute for many people.
Scale is scary for a lot of people. And
Yep.
I have been a franchisee of multiple brands myself. And people ask me all the time, people that have never been their own boss.
Yep.
And if you've never been your own boss, I get it. It's scary to make the leap from W-2 to business owner when you've never done it, especially to your earlier point, in an industry that you don't know anything about.
That's
So
right.
those top 25% of franchisees, what percentage of them had any experience in flooring or contracting?
Oh gosh, nearly zero. Yeah, nearly zero. Like many really good franchises, you don't have to have experience in the industry to be successful. You have to have experience in a core element or attribute of the business. And in our case, it's leadership with specifically marketing and sales, as something that you're ingrained in.
Yes.
So if I can use this to make a comment
Yeah.
that is really near and dear to me, like yourself, I've been a franchisee on two separate occasions. I would say really my previous expertise is turnarounds of companies that have great opportunity but are stuck for a particular reason. And it's with that in mind that I say the following. When a good franchisee, somebody with real skill and ability, is doing their due diligence to look at a business, they target a business that they can really understand how I can grow that business. And in our case, and to use your words, they will look here and see our successful franchisees, that top 25%, they are growing by scaling. So the potential franchisee sees it, they do their due diligence, they understand it clearly. Of course, we're working through all of that. But then when they jump into the business and get into the day to day, sometimes that basic common sense that they used when they were doing their due diligence gets stripped away by the pressure, the stress, and just the daily growing of their business.
Yeah.
In order to be really successful here or any other business that you really thrive by scaling your business, which is most, you have to maintain that clarity of your purpose of getting into that business. And here at Floor Coverings International, we scale by adding mobile showrooms and design associates into the business and having a good methodology to have good, steady scaling and growth.
This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI driven marketing. I love it. Why don't we transition? I mean, this is gold, Tom. I mean, with all of your experience, this is exciting stuff for me to hear. Imagine the audience, especially first timers that have never heard some of this stuff. I want to go to your goals for 2024 versus 2023. You said to me something about raising the floor. So, what does that mean to you and your current franchisees and future franchisees?
Thank you for that question. So we here at Floor Coverings International have real clarity and we're rooted in two things. Number one is the vision that we have for the business. It is front and center all of the time. It really does lead our behaviors and our actions. And the secondary piece that comes and supports it are our core values. And one of our core values that we really truly live by is practice continuous improvement. Now, what that means to us here at Floor Coverings International is we certainly celebrate the wins as we get them. But every time we celebrate the win, it's laced with awesome. What's next? Where can we go? How much bigger and stronger can we be? How much higher can our customer service ratings get? What's next? And we really do press for that. So 2022 was a year of reflection for us. And what I mean by that is we had great growth leading up to the pandemic. The pandemic's in a rearview mirror right now, of course, for all of us. But to remember what we all went through as business owners in the pandemic is important because we, of course, had the initial, fear and such that was then followed by we surged forward in growth and we were leaders in our industry. To then we get to 2022, the pandemic now is in the rearview mirror. Now we're all looking at what is the next 5 to 10 year vision and how do we keep upon this part of our vision of practice continuous improvement? That led to some new due diligence, some new research, a particular new consultant that we brought in to help us with our thinking, because one of our other core values is be open-minded to possibilities. And
Yep.
we wanted to bring in some fresh thinking. And we came into 2023 with the following. What's next? And that is where we came with our new standard is we are raising the floor. And with that, we have raised our minimum performance expectations for everybody in the business of $2 million and above. Up until the pandemic, we were surging towards, we wanted everybody to be able to grow to $2 million. Now, $2 million is the floor. We've raised that expectation. Now it is $2 million to $10 million.
Love it. And I already know that you have people doing 10 million and that'll be even higher by the end of 2024. So I applaud you on what you've done thus far. So when people hear this, prospective candidates or future franchisees of FCI, Floor Coverings International, are hearing this, from a marketing perspective or a purchasing perspective, you know, we hear it all the time. Why would I do a franchise?
Mhm.
I could do this. I'm hearing all this. Flooring is such an amazing business. Well, I could do this on my own. What is really the value in getting into Floor Coverings
Yeah.
International? And Tom, a lot of the times I laugh because you and I know stories from years of being in this industry. I had a guy that was an independent air conditioning HVAC owner, and he said, "Well, why would I have a franchise?" And it turns out he was doing it 8 years and he got to
Mhm.
800,000 in sales. And I said, because if you would have joined my favorite air conditioning franchise, you would have probably been at 800,000 the first year
Yes.
and then $4
Yes.
million a few years later. And he just
Yeah.
looked at me stunned on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So share with us on the marketing side, on the, all the amenities, if you will, when you become a franchisee.
Sure. Well, let me just say that I do believe a franchise is not for everybody. And there is probably somebody that is listening to this podcast that's saying exactly what you just said, Lance. Why do I need a franchise? I can do flooring on my own. And there's probably somebody that realistically is a better fit to be an entrepreneur on their own and not be in a franchise. So
Yeah.
my comments are not for whoever that person is. My comments are for the individuals that say, you know what, I can be higher, faster, stronger by joining with a great franchisor partner that allows me to do what I do really well, and I can leverage them for what they do really well. I say that as a setup for that is my personal philosophy in franchising, and certainly what we have here at Floor Coverings International. And to expand just a little bit, and then I'll get into the details of your question. It's my belief that a great franchise organization, there is clarity in the two groups. Number one, the franchise owner is going to be the expert at delivering that product, that service, that business model in the communities that they serve. They are better than me. That franchisee in Las Vegas that you had the opportunity to work with, he is a better operator than I would be there. And you know what? That is great. He knows it. I know that. That is our relationship. That is what he brings skills for. Now, on the flip side, at the franchisor, I have to know clearly what my value is and how that symbiotic relationship between franchisor and franchisee works. My role is make sure that we are branding properly. We are bringing the right resources to those franchisees that they can grow more efficiently, more quickly, and more profitably. So that the question isn't really, should I be a franchisee or not? It's, does that franchisor bring the value and the resources that I will have a better, stronger, more valuable, more profitable business? Now, I wanted to give that background to then come to your question. We look at our current resource needs from the franchisor are number one, branding. And we are moving into a very important phase here at Floor Coverings International as we've crossed that $200 million mark. And our vision for our branding now going forward, and this is a new refreshed vision, is we want to be the most recognized flooring brand in the communities that we serve. And that is a daunting task because the flooring industry is huge and literally no one knows of a flooring company outside of Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yeah.
Secondly, we have to bring the marketing expertise, which is a combination of bringing the resources, the marketing programs for our franchisees to be able to plug into and utilize to grow their business quickly to $2 million, then $2 million to $5 million, and then $5 million to $10 million. And I have to know all the time that our franchise owners rely on us to do that. They look to us to be the leaders at it. And so we have to always be retooling our marketing for not just the stage that we're in right now, but the next stage. And then the third component that we look at and say that we at the franchisor have to bring tremendous strength, resources, and leadership to our franchisees is the acquisition of great talent to scale their businesses. And admittedly, right now, that's the area that we are most engaged in with our franchisees.
Love it.
So just to wrap this up, franchisor and franchisee have to work together. And in working together, we have to have clarity of roles and be comfortable that the person on the other side of the fence, the franchisor has got to be comfortable. The franchisee is the expert at running the business. The franchisee has got to be comfortable with the franchisor as the expert at bringing those tools and resources to be great.
That's all. This is great stuff. Great stuff, Tom. So you mentioned 200 million in revenue. How many franchisees are there right now?
So we now have 250 operating franchisees, which includes 50 of them that are literally in startup and in getting launched.
Got it. And the plan this year is how many more by the end of 2024?
So by January 1 of 2025, we will have 300 franchisees that are open and in operations. And again, that will include another 50 to 60 that are in that startup mode.
Yeah, amazing. So as far as training and support, there's a lot of buzz out there today because there are franchise brands that really aren't that great.
Mhm.
That's the reality. And I tell people I come from a Wall Street background. There's plenty of stocks that I would tell you not to buy. There were
Yes,
also stocks I would tell you to buy. So 4,000 plus stocks, 4,000 plus franchise options
Mhm.
out there, right?
That's right.
So your training and support is fabulous. Tell us a little about that. So talk a little bit about training, and then after people are out of training, what does that look like and what can they expect on the support side, that value proposition as you
Yeah.
mentioned?
Well, and this flows into the subject we were just exploring is what is the role of the franchisor and what does a franchise owner need to be able to lean on with complete trust? And one of the pillars and foundations is training and startup support. We look at training and startup as the first 2 years of a franchisee in business. And in the first 2 years, we have that actually broken down to first 6 months and then next 18 months before we look at a franchise owner when they're out of training and support. So, or out of startup training and support. So when a franchisee joins Floor Coverings International, they go into 3 different phases of startup training. We have what we call pre-launch. A franchisee goes into very intensive coaching, training, and leadership to get them ready to come to their first, what we call launch training. And launch training is exactly what it sounds like. They go through a training program then that they literally, the day they come out of training is they launch. So we have pre-training or pre-launch, then we have launch, and then we have a third phase that gets a franchisee through the end of that 6 months is called flight. So pre-launch, launch, and flight. Each one of those 3 components or subcomponents are intended to get a franchise owner at day 1 of month 6, fully in operations, able to get profitable right away. So beyond the startup, and burning cash, if you will,
Yeah.
to now retaining cash. And then for the next 18 months, they are on a trajectory of going from flight to getting to the scale of the $2 million business. Now, what does that mean specifically? At month 24, that franchise owner should have 2 things in place. Number 1, they have 4 people in their business that are their full-time people. That's the owner, an office manager, and 2 design associates. And combined, they are writing 13 or more new customer proposals every single week. With all of our normal average metrics that are reported in our item 19, 4 people and 13 proposals, that franchise owner is on a $2 million trajectory from that day forward.
I love the detail. I love the goals. I love the metrics, and that's what people need to grow and scale, and most importantly, feel safe and secure that they're on the right path. So
Exactly.
I
Yes.
absolutely love it. Tom, you have been amazing today. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom for the audience.
Oh, goodness. Well, I mentioned to you I'm 39 years in franchising. One of the things that I most love about the home improvement industry when it comes to a franchise opportunity is that our industry is always growing and it is incredibly stable. So what that means for a franchise owner, and certainly somebody that is considering Floor Coverings International, is they are going to invest in a really good, stable business opportunity that over time, their business is going to continue to provide them on a year-over-year basis growth, equity, cash flow, and an ability to build a business that whether it's 5 years or 25 years down the road, that business will have an equity return for them that they will be able to sell it and move on. I love this industry because it never goes away and it always grows. And there's a lot of things in franchising that are great right now, but then all of a sudden they're gone in 5 years because that industry has just disappeared.
Yeah. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing everything about your story, your magnificent story, and Floor Coverings International.
Thank you very much, Lance. I appreciate the opportunity. This has been great.
My pleasure.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.